Hey guys, part two of how I got into casting and just life before Overwatch and everything else. So where did we leave off? I had a 5 minute break. Well, now it's turned to 10 minutes because I got some water. I believe it was Vainglory talking about that, but I wanted to quickly skip back a few months because Vainglory wasn't my first paid gig. It was doing ESL work. I did mobile games and ESL Meisterschaft, which was the German league for League of Legends. Mobile Legends, sorry, paid I think €75. I did just look it up, and the date on the invoice was the 1st of the 10th, 2016. So a long time ago at this point. We're obviously nowhere near the end of the year, but going on 5 years I've been casting now, and 4 years getting paid. So that's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure I got paid before that invoice, but it would have been like really small payments on PayPal, and there was no point making invoices for it. Or I did the invoicing through probably Xcoundrel because I didn't know how to do it at that point. I apologize for the banging if you can hear that. People are doing something outside my room. But anyway, so that was the original stuff I used to do. So the mobile games and just random other games as well, whether that was League of Legends or when Overwatch came out, I did Overwatch, a little bit of Vainglory as well before I went into that more full time. Mobile Legends was great though. It was just a small 3-on-3, I believe. It was small 3-on-3 MOBA. That's all it was. And there was definitely a meta to it. The people that would turn up were normally the same people every single week, which was really cool because, again, it kind of builds storylines, which is really awesome. And I have some of their old recordings, and I did look it up the other day out of just curiosity. Yeah, so I found some of my old casting, which is crazy. And me and Peter, the guy that I was doing it with, who still casts a little bit in the UK. I think he's got a full-time job now, but he definitely does casting on the side. And we had such a fantastic time with that because it was one of the first paid gigs I was doing, so obviously I was hyped to do that, and the fan base was pretty cool, and it was really small, of course, being a mobile game, but it was pretty close-knit. Like I said, we'd see the same players every single week, and that was really cool to build off storylines there, and being able to cast that game, which was also very quick as well, so there was lots of action all the time. It was pretty fun. And then I ended up doing, like I said, ESL Meisterschaft, and eventually I got offered IM Paris Challenger Series, which was a 4-day event, I believe. IM Paris Challenger Series, I believe it was called. And that was like the first big, like, damn, this is it. This is where the money is. This is how I move up in the world, like, how I move up in the casting ladder as well. It didn't end up moving me anywhere, really, I don't think. But it was a really cool gig to kind of have my name, under the little, on the graphics, on the overlays and whatnot, and just saying I cast IM Paris was pretty sick. And we cast League of Legends. That was with me and Dez casting League. I was a play-by-play. I've always been a play-by-play. Never done color, apart from a few times in Overwatch where I've done color. And me and Des did that, and it was so much fun, although we had to wake up at 6 a.m. every single day because the broadcast started at 8 a.m., which kind of sucked. So I was very tired to start off with, but coffees and whatever would help that. And I do thank my mum and dad for not getting too annoyed at me casting at 8 a.m. in the morning, which I also did really late night casts sometimes as well. But at that point I was getting paid, and I was like, please, I'm getting paid. Like, I'm sorry, I have to cast at this late and I will be loud. My mum was a little bit annoyed, but understood. Luckily enough, I have very forgiving parents, so I do thank them for that, and giving me the opportunity as well to spend a year of my life following something that I wanted to follow that wasn't programming, which also really helped. And as soon as the small bits of money started to trickle in, I think my mum and dad were a little bit more happy with me following this as a career. Although it could have all ended after League of Legends kind of dwindled away in the UK before it got rebooted earlier on a couple of years ago. So yeah, really thankful for that, and I'm glad obviously I'm here where I am now. But going back to that original story, so it was those kind of mobile games, ESL Meisterschaft, and then the Paris thing, and then Vainglory, it just kind of took off with me specifically. Aaron stopped doing it, or Medic, if you haven't watched the first episode, Medic, who does LEC now, he was kind of a mentor to me in play-by-play casting, Xscoundrel just in general, and they helped me very, very early on with casting and improving, and just like just everything really to do with casting and just life at that point too, and what I should be doing or what I shouldn't be doing, etc. So that was really helpful. With Aaron moving on, I casted Vainglory with Scoundrel for a long time, and he is still, to this day, my longest term casting partner, 2.5 years-ish, a little bit more than that, I think. Maybe approaching 3, although I don't think so. Maybe 3? Can't remember. 2, I will say 2.5, just to make it round-ish. And we cast that. We did the live events. We did one in London. We did one in the US. We did one in Singapore, which was really cool. The World Finals in Singapore, which was fucking awesome. Which was one of the biggest live events I'd done at that time. I'd done small things, like really small things, like Newell Live, for example. And I talked a little bit about Newell in my first episode. But the National University Esports League in the UK, a very, very good place to start casting if you're from the UK. Like extraordinarily good. They are perfect for not beginner casters. Well, I guess beginner casters, but casters of varying levels that want to like break into the scene more. They're a perfect place to start, and I would recommend them to literally anybody. I think there's a competing org now called NCS or something. I can't remember exactly. There is a lot of banging. I have a feeling Brain is moving his weights around, and we're setting up a gym in our garage. So apologize if you can hear all that banging and noise. So Vainglory, and we did the live event. We did the big world finals, which was fucking awesome. There was a lot of people. I was pretty damn nervous, but Aaron was there luckily, and Xscoundrel was there too. So it was very easy to cast because I just treated it like any other day casting, except it was much higher stakes, basically. The nerves really did get to me. They definitely don't get to me anymore. I get a few little jitters before I go on, but it's like, yeah, whatever. I'm doing my job. I walk up there. I talk excitedly about games and just do what I love to do, which is just talk about Overwatch or, whatever game I was doing at the time. Talk about League of Legends, talk about Vainglory, etc. And it's pretty easy and not as nerve-wracking as it used to be. And that first live event, or the biggest, like I said, the really big one, I was very nervous. Had a few too many coffees as well in the morning, which did not help at all. If you want to calm the nerves, do not drink a shit ton of coffee. Just have maybe 1 or 2, like I normally do. Otherwise, you'll be just bouncing off the walls, and it won't help you cast in the slightest. I've made that mistake a few too many times with Red Bull, which I don't tend to drink before I go on anymore. So going on from there, with Vainglory, it eventually turned into 5v5. And at that point, I'm not entirely sure what happened, but they didn't end up picking up the next year. I believe 2018 it would have been, or would it have been 2018 or 2017? The date is now escaping me, but when they turned it to 5v5, the esports scene didn't kick off immediately, and it was a very, very slow building thing. They ended up doing 1 season. I'm not entirely sure if they're still running. I don't think they are, or at least their esports side of it, the capacity that it was before, is unfortunately not running anymore. And that's at the point as well where UK Masters and ESL Prem weren't going to do their tournaments. Well, I was getting pretty damn worried, like really worried, because I was at a point where I needed work and I wanted to continue just try and push on and get to one of the major leagues. My goal when I was in League of Legends, and I always make goals, long-term, short-term, that's what I do every single year, and I've still got it in my book somewhere because I've kept the same book of goals and I've written everything down. My goal was to move to Korea and cast LCK. That was the end goal for me for League of Legends. For now, obviously it changes every single year, and it sometimes changes every few months, depending on what happens. But I wasn't going to be able to do that because, one, there were no spots, because at that point they had Achilleos, they had Atlas, which Atlas still casts, of course. They had Valdez as well, Brennan Valdez. And color casting positions didn't really bother me too much because I wasn't a color caster, so it wasn't too much of an issue. I wasn't fighting for spots in that regard. They still have Atlas and they still have Brennan, so that there was maybe one spot if Achilleos ended up leaving, which of course he did, to cast Overwatch. And I didn't really see any future in that because there was no way they were going to move. They were been there for a long time, and there was no real movement in the EU region either, or nor the NA, or at least I was aware of anyway, because at that point I don't really know anybody. I was of course trying to talk to as many people as I could, and just getting advice was the main thing. People like Quickshot, I tried to go to Flowers as well. Who else? Quickshot, Flowers. I think I talked to, I want to say, I tried to reach out to Rivington, maybe? I can't remember. There was one NA caster that is just escaping me right now, but it might have just been Flowers that I reached out to. Because it was mostly the EU people that I was focusing on, because that was my home region. And of course, I was continuing to go to Aaron and ask for advice. But there was no real movement there at all for me, so I was getting extremely worried. And that is luckily, when my first trip to Korea, I ended up meeting up with Seth. And my first day there, actually, I ended up meeting up with Papa Smithy as well. And we kind of sat down and talked about my career and just the landscape at that time. And for me, it was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I have nothing right now, and it was a very scary time, and I had to find something else. But luckily enough, Overwatch Contenders ended up coming up, and hey, would you look at that? I ended up casting Overwatch Contenders. I will end the episode here, though. I know it's only 10 minutes. The other one was 22, but I think I'll do a separate video completely on Overwatch, and then I'll probably do a little bit extra on just like advice I'd give to new casters that are up and coming and that want to improve and look for more stuff. So thank you very much for watching, guys. The links are all down in the description as always. Twitter and Instagram, would appreciate a follow on there, and sub if you haven't already. I'll see you guys in the next episode.